All right. Welcome, everybody. It's snowing in Colon. Yay. Snow is here. Okay, so I'm Debbie Davis, and I am giving you guys the chance to ask me almost anything. So I'm sure you're aware of what the rules are, right? No politics, no religion, nothing about my court cases. But I was kind of being a bit facetious talking about my treasure trove of knowledge, but it is a very strange amount of knowledge about different subjects that I have. So I'm going to scroll up. I know there's a few questions kind of early on before I got started. Sorry, I just finished with regular work. I do have a moderator now, so hopefully she doesn't struggle too much with doing this. So one of the questions is, what got me interested in being a small-time lawyer, now county prosecutor? So in our county, we don't have a ton of attorneys. And my father-in-law, my husband's stepfather, was a very successful attorney in Colon, and he was really the only one in Colon at the time. When I graduated from Western Michigan University, I had a communications degree, and I intended to go into broadcasting, like news broadcasting. My senior year, my broadcasting professor and I kind of had a heart-to-heart, and she said, "Is this really something that you want to do? I mean, you'd have to move." My husband and I were dating at the time, and he proposed to me at my college graduation. And so it was something where I didn't really want to move across the country to take a maybe low paying job at a news station just to try to work my way up through the system. So my father-in-law had suggested that if I wanted to go to law school, that he would be happy to give me a start and kind of like a succession plan, I guess, for his law office, which obviously worked because here I am at his law office in Colon. So things went really well. So I think I had said before, I went to Thomas M. Cooley Law School. I started out in the Grand Rapids campus and then had to finish in the Lansing campus because at that time they did not have the full accreditation for Grand Rapids. While I was there, they did get the accreditation for Grand Rapids, but by that time, I was living in Kalamazoo, so really driving to Lansing versus driving to Grand Rapids wasn't that big of a difference. So I was able to have more classes at different times and kind of stack my schedule, so I didn't have to commute as much by staying at the Lansing campus. So that's how it went. And I knew that my husband wanted to move back to Colon, where he is from, and I'm from Centerville, which is only a little ways away down the road. And our families are both here. So not a ton of job opportunities. I guess I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of job opportunities here, but in the village of Colon, it was something where it's not like you're in a large metropolitan area. So being one of the few attorneys in town obviously kind of gives you the monopoly on the market. So over the years, I have been a few other attorneys in town, and everybody is really, really kind and helpful with each other. And I really, truly love practicing law in our area. You know that if you have an attorney on the other side, that you can trust them. All right, so I think I covered a few of those questions. Let's see. When I see Judge outside of court, yes, we still call him Judge. It's just an honor thing. The retired judges, we still call Judge as well. So it's just something that we do. What type of music do I listen to? It depends on the day. I have a really random playlist. My friends jokingly call me DJ Double D for Debbie Davis. And if we're out on the boat or we're in the car or whatever, I typically have a playlist. If it's your birthday, I make a playlist for your birthday. So that's kind of a little bit of everything. Country, rock, oldies, some hip hop. I probably shouldn't talk about those things, right? It's in another life. Okay. Do I feel as though I'm being stalked? No, I don't feel that I'm being stalked. I mean, I think it's interesting that people care about what we're doing. I don't know if Judge is going to continue to live stream or not. There is a lot of pushback, a lot of different opinions throughout the state. So there's a judges conference coming up, and I know that's one of the things that they're going to be discussing. So part of it is it's really unfair to the people that aren't consenting, I guess, to having their name, their story, everything put out there and then recorded and used for other purposes. So definitely that is an issue. And I know somebody brought up earlier, like, what's the deal with, people using the court streams? I don't believe you're supposed to be using them. So it's one of those things, I guess, that it's not my choice. And unfortunately, I can't control it. Okay, let's see. What do my husband and children think? I don't know if I call it YouTube fame necessarily, right? I think my husband is thinks it's kind of crazy. My kids, I think it's cool. They want to, share videos of their animals and that sort of thing. I try to keep them off of it. I'm not sure how YouTube handles having minors on there, even if they're my own minors. So I try to not have them in a lot of the things, but they do watch it. All right, let's see. Other questions. Top 5 animal names and 5 names that are a never. Oh my gosh, we've had so many animals. I can't even name them all, honestly. The kids like to pick the names of the animals themselves, and I let them do that, to an extent. I guess we don't use names of our own family members. Maybe that's the no-no. Okay. More questions. Let's see. Taco, I know you have a question. I'll just scroll down and see if you put it in here. Most peculiar crime I've either defended or prosecuted. Oof. I don't really know of any peculiar crimes. Like, nothing crazy happens. We have dog at large cases, which is if you have your dog not on a leash and it's running around and somebody calls it in, you can get a ticket for that. So I guess that's kind of unusual. Hopefully my connection is good. I'm plugged in directly, so hopefully you guys are not having any trouble hearing me. Let's see. Do I have a case involving a local bishop and the governor? No, I do not. Let's see what else we've got. All right. Is it proper to give your client legal advice when you have reason to believe that the knowledge you give him will tempt him to commit perjury? Oof, that's a tough one. So obviously our goal as attorneys is to represent our client to the best of our ability. So if you're talking defense with this question, it always is in the back of your mind can you trust what your client is saying? And I think that it's a case-by-case basis, and you have to really pay attention to all of the circumstances. And if you know that your client is not telling the truth, you cannot ethically put them on the stand. So definitely making sure that they're aware of the ramifications of them getting on the stand and not telling the truth. Very important for you to make sure that you tell your client what that could lead to. Best Midwestern food, in my opinion. Oh, I love food. Man, what is considered a Midwestern food? I had my Midwestern soup video the other day, which is like basically taking all of your leftovers in the fridge and pantry and making a soup, which is really good. I don't know. It's all good. Sweet corn. Oh, sweet corn in the summer, end of summer when it's first. Oh, it's just so good. That and strawberries. If you raise your own strawberries, holy cow, it is unlike any strawberry you will ever get in a store, ever. All right. Do grandparents have rights in Michigan so they're able to see their grandchildren? There is, in fact, grandparenting rights in Michigan. They are not very well settled in law, unfortunately. So there's a statutory idea of it, but putting it into practice, not a lot of attorneys practice in that area. I've only had very few cases where it comes up, but specifically, it would be if you're a grandparent and your child, the parent of these grandchildren, passes away and that surviving parent does not allow you to see them, you can petition to have grandparenting time with them. There's a lot more to it as far as proving that it's in the best interest of the kids, that you had a prior relationship with the kids, that sort of thing. But you mostly would see it in that situation where there is a deceased parent and the grandparents on that side want to have a way to see the kids. Another way is if there are two parents that are alive, but they cut off contact with the grandparents for whatever reason, there are ways that the grandparents can petition the court to reconnect with their grandkids, even over the objection of the parents. Now, as I recall, it's presumed that these two parents have made a competent decision, so the grandparent has the burden of proof to show why the court should overrule what these parents are asking for. And again, you're looking at the best interest of the kids and the prior relationship with the grandparents and that sort of thing. So that's why I think a lot of attorneys don't practice in that area. It's very case specific, but there is in fact a way for grandparents to get that legally enforceable right to see their grandkids. Okay, what else do we have? Why do frauditors get to invade upon police investigating a crime with no apparent repercussions? I don't know. That is a phenomenon that I didn't really know existed until recently, but there are ramifications for interfering with a police investigation. There are misdemeanor versions, there are felony versions. It depends on how bad the behavior is. So I guess I wouldn't try that in Michigan because I feel like our laws do protect our police officers in the investigations. So definitely not something that I would recommend anybody doing here in Michigan. The weirdest thing I've seen since Zoom court started. I try not to talk about Zoom court just because I don't want to pick on anybody who was inadvertently having to have their case, I guess, seen by everybody. But I did I guess the weirdest one's not in our jurisdiction, so I guess that's okay. But like the Zoom court cat, like the guy who had a cat filter, I didn't know that you could even have filters on your Zoom. So that one, it made me chuckle every time I saw it, and my kids thought it was pretty funny too. So I am not a cat. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have? Letha May, I'm glad that you're here. I'm sorry that your treatments are making you weak. Okay. Did I grow up with farm animals? Yeah, not in my house. Okay, I take that back. My mom did occasionally, if there was a baby goat or lamb that needed special attention, it would be in our house with a diaper. But generally, they were all in the barn. So yes, ever since I was a small child, we had farm animals. So my parents, when I was very, very young, my dad was in farming. So this would be like back in the early 80s. But farming at that time in the US was very difficult. And they ended up not being able to continue doing the farming gigs. So my dad took a job as an animal control officer for the county. So even when we moved into town, like the village, they still had a small parcel of property outside of town where they kept their horses. And then we raised our 4-H animals there too. So in doing the 4-H program, when I was younger, I mean, you're talking chickens, rabbits, turkeys, ducks, occasionally goats, sheep, horses. Is that everything? I think it's everything. I never did dairy cattle or beef steers. Just wasn't. My brother did 1 year. My parents had bought like a dairy feeder steer at that auction, and he named it Chuck Roast. And he decided that he was going to raise it over the winter and then take it as a dairy beef the next year at fair, which is common. A lot of people will do that. But my brother didn't really work with it. And so Chuck Roast turned into this massive monstrosity that was not happy to be walked. So when I saw, the 1,000-pound animal that was a little wild, I decided that really wasn't for me. So I let him do that. Some of my good friends show cattle, though, and they're very good at it. And their animals are super sweet, like a giant dog. So I guess if you work with them, it would be much easier. Semicolon. Yes, I'm only semicolon because I'm not from here originally. What animals that you don't own would you like to keep? I really want to get emus again, but my husband is not really on board with that. Also, alpacas. I think they're so stinking cute. I would love to have those. All right. Is your office where the court is? Kind of. So my office is in the courthouse when I'm working as a prosecutor, but when I'm not, I am in my office in Colon, which is only about 15 minutes from the courthouse. So that's where I'm at right now. And let's see. Sam Elliott in Roadhouse. That's funny. Okay, I can't really answer some of these questions. Do I raise goats for meat? Ooh, loaded question. I don't intend for them to be eaten, but I mean, that's, how market animals are. I try to arrange so that anybody that buys my kids' 4-H projects at the fair, that we buy them back and I find them homes, because I don't know. I know people eat goat, and apparently it's very delicious. I have had goat before, but it's certainly not something that I would want to eat my own that we raised. It's one of those things, but it is what it is. Let's see. How do I keep a straight face? I don't know. Sometimes I don't, obviously, so sorry about that. Okay. Am I playing hooky today? No, I had to work remotely for a bit, so that's why I didn't do this until 5, because I was busy doing my prosecutor work. So switched my hat at 5 o'clock. All right. How do I manage a farm in a time-intensive job like a lawyer? Well, that's a really good question. I don't know. Maybe I don't manage it very well, if you ask my husband. But a lot of my time is spent with my kids and my animals, whatever. I don't know. I don't watch TV. I don't really have time to read. So this is it. The fact that I'm doing a live stream like for 25 minutes or whatever it's going to end up being, this is kind of all I do. I do my stuff at work. I come home and we go to the kids' games. My sister's a coach, so we go to her games and her kids' games, and a lot of family time. So it's just what I grew up doing, and I really enjoy it. So I guess I don't look at it necessarily as work when I'm taking care of the animals. Don't get me wrong, I do complain about it sometimes, and I harp on the kids for not going down and feeding them and making me do it. But I guess that's kind of how I do it. So being an attorney is obviously an emotionally challenging job and intellectually challenging job, but raising animals is kind of fun. So, I mean, it's emotionally challenging too sometimes, but overall it keeps me grounded, I think. So it gives me something fun to do. And I truly believe that kids need to have some of that down to earth time, and having to take care of an animal is certainly a lot more challenging than them playing video games. So don't get me wrong, my kids just play some video games, but I try to instill in them the work ethic that my parents instilled in me. So having the animals definitely helps with that. All right, what is my favorite food? Like everything? I don't know. I eat pretty much anything. I don't like liver. My husband eats liver, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Let's see. What else do we have? Explain an expungement and how it works. So expungement is a term that we used to use, but now we more so use the term set aside a conviction. So it's different in every jurisdiction, meaning state-wise anyway. In Michigan, you can set aside a felony, you can set aside misdemeanors, and because it has changed so much in the past year, then there's more changes coming. I can't really speak to much more than the process of it in general. So in general, if you want to set aside a conviction or expunge a conviction, there's a petition that you have to fill out and file with the court. I don't believe there's a filing fee for it, but you have to disclose on it the specific counts that you want to have set aside, but you also have to disclose anything that you have had set aside prior or any deferred prosecutions that you've had. So say you got charged with something and then you came to an agreement that the prosecutor would give you 6 months to stay out of trouble. And if you stayed out of trouble at the end of the 6 months, they would just dismiss it. That avoids you having to go through a set aside process years down the road. but you're supposed to disclose that on your petition to set aside anything else that you did get convicted of. So it's important that when you're filling out these petitions, you really pay attention. There's also time considerations, and again, those are changing. Generally, it used to be you had to wait at least 5 years from when the last action was taken in the case. So if you were in jail and then did a probation and then had to take time to pay your fines and costs, not until you have all those fines and costs paid off are you eligible then to petition to set aside. But you'd have to be 5 years from that last date that you paid it off. So if there was no probation and you paid off everything and maybe there was just a few days of jail, it would be 5 years from the date that you got out of jail. So again, super important to read the statutes in your jurisdiction so that you know exactly what the requirements are, because if you screw up on your petition, it could be that you are barred from petitioning again for a certain period of time. 4 to 8 inches of snow in Benton Harbor, and that's really not too far from us. So in Michigan, if you're familiar with the mitten shape of our great state, we get what's called lake effect snow. So from the Illinois area and Wisconsin, as it comes across Lake Michigan, Benton Harbor is kind of tucked in there on the lakeshore, but they get dumped on with snow too. But that lake effect snow gets to like the third county in where we are and just kind of buries us. So I guess I'll get my snow boots ready. Let's see. The dog at large before the cow at large. Yes. The cow at large. We do get those occasionally. Donkeys wandering down the road. That reminds me, when we were out in South Dakota, we went and saw the adorable donkeys that were in the road, and I gotta get some pictures up from that trip. It would make a fun little clip there, but there was a guy feeding the donkey from his own mouth. Like, I wouldn't have believed it until I saw it with my own eyes, and my friend snapped a picture of it. I wonder if I can snag that picture. But yeah, so donkeys get out too, but I haven't had any of those around. What qualities make a great prosecutor versus a defense attorney? We're really kind of the same, honestly. I think the qualities that make you good are having not only the legal knowledge, obviously, but some common sense knowledge, some real life experience, some compassion. Being a prosecutor and having compassion, super important, but being a defense attorney also, you gotta kind of have that well-rounded personality to do either of them. All right, let's see what else we got. A great restaurant in my area and local flavors. Oh, we went to a restaurant called Bold in Kalamazoo. It's in Texas Township in Kalamazoo, and it was fantastic. My husband has gone there a few times, and he loved it. So if you're in the Kalamazoo area, go check out Bold. I've always been a prosecutor or a defense attorney. So I started out in defense work, and then when my father-in-law was elected to probate judge in around 2012, I did take over doing some of the prosecutorial work for the village of Colon, and I did village of Baroque for a while, township of Leonidas for a while, but definitely not to the extent of prosecuting full-time like I am now. So I did about, I think it was 13 years as a defense attorney full-time, and then switched to being a prosecutor last year. Let's see. With multiple charges, how do you know which ones to drop in plea deals? There's a lot of factors that go into that. Some of it is we have to look at if it's a victim crime. We want to run it past the victim. If there's restitution for a particular charge, we want to make sure that either the restitution is made part of the deal if we're dismissing that charge, or that that charge stays so that we're sure to get the restitution order for them. We also look at the severity of the charges. So if you look at, or if you watch the felony sentencing guideline tutorial that I have, I mean, it's kind of more geared toward attorneys and people that are in the felony system, but the prior record variable, the PRV, where it's the scoring of things that you've gotten in trouble for, like previous convictions, or if you're on bond when something happens. when we're looking at plea deals, I really pay attention to that prior record variable to make sure that we're not giving away too many of the points and then making it a very minimal type of sentence in cases where I think that there should be more of a penalty. We also look at in the charges, you only get scored on your felony sentencing guidelines on the charge that they admit to. So if we dismiss a charge on something, then we cannot bring it up as a reason for scoring. And again, the offense variables for scoring, you're looking at, was there a weapon? How many people were put at risk of injury or loss of life, that sort of thing. So that's how we try to figure out what is a reasonable plea offer. So again, it's a case-by-case basis. All right. If I were not a lawyer or prosecutor, what other dream job would you want? Did everybody want to be a zookeeper? I mean, not the one that like cleans the pens, but like the one that plays with all the animals all day. Or I took an oceanography class at Western. Like we had to take, some sort of class to fit into our schedule. And I really liked that one. I mean, when we went to the Florida Keys a few years ago, I was pretty excited to, float around and find little starfish and baby seahorses and things. So I did something cool like that, somewhere warm. Let's see, what else we got? Frog legs or snails? I've had both, and I mean, I like the escargot. Maybe I like it better because it comes in like a little mushroom cap where I've had them, but both are good. Have I traveled to Canada? Oh, I love Canada. It's funny because when I was younger, we call it Canada. Sorry, hopefully that's not like disrespectful, but I've gone to Canada several times. When I was younger, the drinking age in Canada was only 19. So of course, all my friends that lived on the east side of the state thought it was super cool to go over and, yuck it up over there. So I went over there a few times for that. I've been to a wedding in Canada once, and then we went on an Alaskan cruise a couple of years ago prior to COVID, and we went through Canada on the way there and stayed a night over on the far west side. Okay, let's see. Sweet corn, cream puffs, brats, all that stuff. Let's see. Is it a plan to be a judge one day? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the plan, and we'll see how things go, right? I mean, everything is subject to change at any time. I mean, I tell you, I wouldn't have guessed that my career would have gone in the way that it's going right now, but things are really good, so I'm happy, and, just kind of keep doing my thing. Let's see, what made me go to law school? I kind of covered that earlier, but basically it was an opportunity to work with my father-in-law and have a way to earn a good living down here in the old magic capital of the world. Let's see, any other questions? How do you manage a farm with a high-pressure job? I think the farm is what keeps me from going crazy, right? Okay, Jordan. Yes, Jordan should get her own channel. She is very sweet. For the record, on the record, and let the record reflect. Yes, I use those a lot in everyday conversations, actually. Okay, what happens to a person who's awaiting sentencing yet goes on to commit more offenses that get him arrested? Is there no consequence if you're on bail? No, there definitely is. So that's kind of a two-part question, though. So you asked the question if a person who's awaiting sentencing. So if you're awaiting sentencing, it means that you've already been convicted either by a trial or by a plea. So that kind of ramps it up, I guess. If you are just on bond awaiting a trial or some sort of outcome of the case that you're charged with and you get in more trouble, they can't really double punish you, right? But if you've already entered a plea, you've admitted some sort of guilt, or you've been found guilty, and then you go on to commit something new, that does increase the penalties, really. I mean, the judge is going to look at what happened and take that into consideration in sentencing you on the underlying charge. And there are certain crimes that are mandatorily consecutive. So if you get in trouble while you are on bond, or you get in trouble while you are awaiting sentencing, that can add points on, and it could be consecutive to your underlying charge. How many siblings do I have? There are 6 of us kids, so there's a lot of us. Do you think cop watching or auditing? I mean, I would say the body cams should be sufficient to curb any belief that there's police corruption. I think that the problem becomes when citizens try to insert themselves into a situation where a police officer is already investigating something, whether it's a car accident or they're searching a vehicle, and you're coming up behind them with a camera and you're maybe making comments. It's taking their attention away from the job that they are trained and hired to do. And I don't think that that's fair to them, to put them in the position where they have to kind of keep an eye on the person that is standing behind them. They don't necessarily know what the intentions of these auditors are. So it also puts the auditor in a very difficult position where they could get injured. I mean, if it's a roadside thing, I mean, we have had many times where police vehicles were run into on the roadside because people either weren't paying attention or something happened, and they've hurt and killed people. So having these auditors there, I think, adds a dynamic that is totally unnecessary. I think there's other ways that you can make sure that your public servants are doing what they're supposed to be doing, rather than coming up behind them and screaming obscenities and filming them. What is 4-H? Oh gosh, I didn't realize, okay. So 4-H is a program that is run in our state. It's run through the Michigan State University Extension Office. But 4-H it stands for Head, Hands, Heart, and Health, and it's a little clover with the 4 H's on it. And the program is basically designed to bring agricultural knowledge and education to youth. So there are animal projects, like what I had said, like, pigs and sheep and dogs, cats, like pocket pets, you name it. And it's for ages from 8 to 19. And they adjusted the ages here and there, but I think it's still 8 to 19. And then there's Clover Buds, which are the youngest kids from like 5 to 7 that have just kind of a lower level. It's a non-competitive version of 4-H where they just get to bring something to their county fair. The 4-H program also offers all sorts of different varieties of like exploration days, which is like a souped up camp that you can go to at Michigan State University, take different classes. There's a local 4-H camp in our county that with COVID, they've not been able to do it. But also with 4-H, there's still exhibits, which would be like your woodworking, gardening, painting, cake decorating, gift wrapping, all of these things. There's like an entire book on the different classes that you can do. And the 4-H program is a competitive program. I mean, you get scored, A, B, or C, or you get placed. And then with ours and the animals and now still projects, you do an auction. So our county fair is in September. So you would do all of your projects and take care of all of them until the September fair. You would then go exhibit them at the fair. And with the market animals, they get sold. Breeding stock animals do come home with you. That's why my 3 main goats always come home every year. So that's what 4-H is, hopefully. That kind of makes a little more sense. Kind of like Future Farmers of America FFA program, only 4-H is run through them. Not through the school like FFA is through the school. Okay, let's see. Chuck, yes, the name Chuck Roast. All right. Did Chuck Roast become a Chuck Roast? To my knowledge, he did. I mean, it was a boy, so that's kind of their manifest destiny with a market animal. If it's a castrated male, they could be a yard pet, I guess. That's what I do with my goats anyway. Do I still do private practice law? I do, but not very much. I mean, obviously that spreads me pretty thin as far as the rest of my life goes. So I do have some things that I'm finishing up for clients, and then for friends and family, I still do estate planning, that sort of thing. So it's only on nights and weekends, or like on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, when the court is closed, I can do things at my private office. So I try to not overwhelm myself, but I also feel guilty if I don't take care of my clients. So it's hard to say no to people. What is disorderly conduct? Fraudulent frequently used most associated. Yeah, so disorderly conduct depends on the actual statutory language wherever you're at. So in our state, it's basically there's like 7 different ways that it can be disorderly conduct. It can be like a peeping Tom. It can be hanging around a house of ill repute. Like there's all sorts of bizarre things, but it can also be creating a disturbance in a public place. So it's not even just the type of language, but if it's just yelling. And we've had people that if you're out in the middle of the street hollering and making a fool of yourself, you could get charged with disturbing the peace if it did in fact bother somebody else. Generally that's proven by that person being the one who called 911. So that's what the disorderly conduct is. I mean, we have behaviors that I think the general public would not like to have their children witness. And I kind of look at it that way. So there used to be a swearing in Michigan. There was something about swearing in front of women and children. I don't know if it's still in the books. I should look that up. But there was a famous one. It was like a guy on a canoe or something. I don't know. You can probably Google it. But he was swearing, and I think he got charged for that. How do you guys seriously hear that chirping? All right, so I addressed this the other day. There is a smoke alarm in the basement of my office, and don't worry, we have like a ton of smoke alarms in here, right? But I have changed that battery so many times, and it still chirps. I swear it's like possessed or something. All right, what else we got? Junior rodeo. The rodeo comes to the fair and it's so fun. Like my kids, when they get to do the mutton busting, mine are all too big now because you have to like be under a certain number of pounds, but I do like the rodeo. Yeah, hit the like or the sheep get it. Oh, did you guys look at my community tab? I had my mom showed me that 2 of the babies were born last night. So 2 little ewe lambs were born. So I kind of said like she keeps the sheep at her house and I keep the goats at my house. And then, yeah, birthing season is upon us, guys. So be prepared for cute little baby photos and videos. All right. And bacon, yes. I do like bacon and I raise pigs sometimes. So, I mean, let's see. All right, guys, I gotta find another question here. This is gonna get really boring. Okay. Oh, nice for Law Talk with Mike to be here. Oh, can I give you one of my eye rolls? Oh, I guess. Did it work? All right. How do you get the 48-hour-long days? Secret Squirrel, I know. I feel like sometimes it is like 48 hours that I cram into a 24-hour day. What do you do at home that keeps you sane at work? Obviously, take care of the animals, right? I don't know. I think it's what keeps me sane. I also have really amazing people that I work with, so that certainly helps. Thanks, 36th District Court. So sweet of you. Liver is disgusting, Ryan. I agree. Yeah, if I could get Jordan to come on here with me sometime, that would be fun. I don't know. We got to be careful because it is, you know, professional versus fun time. We'll have to see. All right, no more questions. You guys are, Let's see. What's Judge Middleton like outside of court? He's very fun, and he is so stinking knowledgeable about the most random pop culture stuff. If you ever get a chance to be on his team for trivia, you're probably going to win. What happened to Patina from Keystone? I don't know. I should find out. I mean, she probably took a different job, is my guess. You know, the Keystone Shelter is the homeless shelter in our county, and they are always full. And it makes me so sad. It's the only true homeless shelter that we have in the county. And years ago, it was built using, I believe, our building trades from high school. So building trades is like a career technical education class that is taught by licensed builders and contractors, and they teach these high school kids how to do it. So when they're juniors and seniors, they can take this class. So I believe that is how the original Keystone was built, but it's been many years since it was built, and we need more space. So I'm not sure where Bettina went, but maybe she's helping set up somebody else. Yeah, I don't miss Michigan winters either. Let's see. What video game system does my son like? What are his favorite games? So he thinks that I'm the meanest person in the world because they have an Xbox One, right? Xbox One, yeah. And he wants some new one. Like, why? Like, you already have a few games for this one. Why would I get you a new one? I mean, if he wants to raise money and do it himself, that's fine. They love playing like the Madden NFL games, and I think they play the hockey games. My younger son likes like the Minecraft games. I don't know. I'm not a gamer, if you couldn't tell. Let's see. The other Judge Stutzman. There are actually 4 judges in our county. So Judge Tomlinson is in probate. Judge Pattison is a circuit court judge that also handles district court. He's actually elected as a district court judge, which he's crossed with a circuit court judge. And then Judge Middleton, of course, and Judge Stutzman. So the set-asides being unnecessary, that's where the new legislation has come in, where there's going to be some automatic set-asides for certain things. So, Oscar, you are on top of your game there. Anyone who inspired me to become a lawyer? Of course, my father-in-law. He was always so even-keeled, and the small town law that he did, it's just like basically you have to kind of be a jack of all trades. So he really inspired me, and he still does. Do I have one vet or different vets? I have one vet, and he's amazing, and I think he probably thinks I'm crazy, but because I called him when I was thinking about getting emus. I'm like, hey, what do you know about emus? And he said that he doesn't really like working on birds because at Michigan State University he was, I don't know, something with birds and whatever. But yes, Dr. Lane takes really good care of my animals. He's one of the only vets that I know that will still come to your farm. So farm calls, which is obviously super nice when you don't have to load up an animal and put them in a trailer or in your car. I've done that many times with the little baby goats, at least. So yes, I have one vet who's really good. Okay, let's see. Oh, I don't know if I'd ever feed. Because does anybody here remember? There's a Dan Aykroyd, like a best of Dan Aykroyd SNL. We had it on VHS, and he did this skit where it was like his face was all mangled, and he said, "You never feed a bear a marshmallow like this," and he put it in his mouth, and he like made this funny face. Every time I think of somebody feeding an animal something from their mouth to their animal's mouth like that, all I can think of is Dan Aykroyd. So if you haven't seen that, actually, I think I paid Amazon Prime so that I could find that clip. I wanted to show somebody. Oh, let's see. Proudest moment as an attorney. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to be prideful for what you do. I don't know. It just feels wrong. Like hopefully I have pride in all of the things I do. I don't know. Is that kind of corny? Let's see. What does my husband do? My husband owns an insurance agency here in town. It's been in his family for 4 generations, and we keep telling our kids that, it'd be nice if one of them took it over. So it's called Davis & Davis Insurance and Real Estate. If you look him up on Facebook, he has some really funny videos that Hype Brand Management did for him for advertising over the last few years. So you should check him out. He's pretty funny. Like, everybody's like, where's your husband? Why isn't he ever on video? And it's like, it's not like he's afraid of video because he's done his own. But yes, he is an insurance agent. Let's see. hopefully people that wanted to watch the birthing goat of the video or birthing video of the goat watched it. And those of you that have weak stomachs, you're warned right now. Okay. I didn't know there was a colon in Ireland. I've been to Ireland and I don't remember seeing a colon there, but fun. Do I feel bad for sending people to prison? Yes. I don't think that, like, any human could not feel bad, right? Like, the people are, they're somebody's son or brother or dad, I mean, or mom or sister or aunt or whatever. So yes, I do have a heart, people, I promise. Let's see. Weird questions. Why is there no live chat in the court stream? I think that that's a pretty obvious reason. If you ever watched the live chats when Judge was first streaming and we didn't know that live chat existed, it got pretty disgusting. So that's why there's no live chat. Plus, I mean, this isn't really, court's not for entertainment purposes, right? It's for educational purposes and transparency. So the people that were commenting were certainly not in that same educational mind frame that we were. Landlord tenant, service by attachment and personal service. Yes, that's a pretty easy one. So service by attachment is when they literally tape the notice on the door. Okay, they attach it to the door. That's not the ideal way to do it. Obviously, you want to, if you can get personal service, that's the best way, which means handing it to the person who is named as the defendant. Or you can, in some landlord tenant cases, somebody who's over 18 and responsible that is at that address, you can hand it to them. If you are a plaintiff, you really want to get service personally, so that if the person doesn't show up, the judge can then order a default and you can then seek your money damages without having to go and get them personally served if there was a service by attachment. So if service by attachment and they don't show up, you got to go get them personally served before you can get a money judgment. If they were personally served and they don't show up, you can move forward with getting your money judgment. Where are we going on vacation this year? We are going to Florida, so that'll be fun. Going with my mother-in-law, so we'll do that later this spring with the kids. I don't scuba dive. I feel like I get claustrophobic, so I don't know if I could do it. I would like to try, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I get to go through all the classes and things. So I just snorkel, which is fun. But last year when we were snorkeling, I was by this kind of like whatever that juts out, walkway that people are on. There's people fishing off of it. So I was trying to be cool and stay back away from them. And it was just my sister and I, and we had the full face masks, which I think are super cool. And I was up by these rocks and all of a sudden this giant stingray, I think they're called stingrays, right? Manta rays? I don't know. Whatever it was enormous. And it like came out of the cracks of the rocks. And I was like swimming backwards as fast as I could and trying to yell, but you can't yell underwater. And it scared me. So, I mean, scuba diving, I don't know if I could do that. There's lots of much larger animals than the little bitty things that I see when I'm snorkeling. Okay, how do defense lawyers get to act as ADAs in certain districts or counties? Oh, okay, I know what you mean. So, like TJ Reed, for example. So he is a city attorney for the city of Sturgis. So even though he is a defense attorney in certain things, he is also a city prosecutor. So each municipality can choose who they want to have as their city or village attorney. And they do that just by like a contract with a local attorney. But county prosecutors are not. You're hired by the elected prosecutor in the county. Okay. I'm having a pretty good day. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. If I were a judge, would I allow cameras in my courtroom? I mean, it would depend, I guess. Again, this is transparency-wise, like I have nothing to hide, right? I have no problem with somebody watching what I do and, critiquing or commenting or whatever on my work. But the people that are there for court, it's not really their choice, right? Like they're summoned to be there. It's, as judge would say, not a subpoena is not a birthday party invitation. So I don't feel comfortable with just thrusting that person into some spotlight that they did not intend. And I think it would have to be some sort of agreement that, you know, people will be given the opportunity to be blurred or have their name blurred or whatever if there's going to be some sort of streaming of it. Okay. Concurrent sentence, fair to victims. I mean, concurrent sentencing versus consecutive sentencing, it can be unfair because it's like you're kind of like getting a reward for doing a bunch of bad things all in short order, because then it's like, oh, it's all going to run concurrent, but there's not much we can do about that. That's why there are those options for consecutive sentencing for certain crimes like criminal sexual conduct, things like that. Okay. I have not been to the old lately, downtown Detroit. Apparently I should go. But again, COVID kind of ruins everything, right? Trying to stay out of trouble. Which judge would I model myself after? Ooh, Judge Judy? Just kidding. No, I like Judge Judy. Don't get it. Oh God, I forget that this is like more than just my 10 people that I usually talk to. I don't know. I think it would be my own thing, right? Like each of the judges in our county have their own unique style, and you can learn a lot from all of them. So I think I'd be like a good conglomerate of all of them. Yes, Judge is quite laid back. Okay. Some of these are pretty funny. Have I met Judge's wife? Yes, she's very nice. Let's see. Sovsit cases. I've only really had, I think, one true Sovsit case, and it was interesting. Again, before I came to the prosecutor's office, I didn't even know that this kind of whole thing existed with sovereign citizens. So magistrates. Somebody asked about magistrates in one of my comments the other day. So magistrates are like a statutorily created job where they're kind of like a judge in that they can arraign people, which is to tell them what they're charged with and what the maximum penalties are. And they can set bonds for people. But some magistrates are not attorneys. So attorney magistrates have a little more leeway. They can take pleas in certain cases and that sort of thing, but they can't do sentencings. So a judge is the only one that can handle sentencings. So in our situation in our county, the magistrate is really mostly used for warrant reviews and bond and that sort of thing. Okay. My sister coaches varsity girls basketball. Go Magi. And my kids play kind of all the typical small town sports. So basketball and football, and my daughter does cheer. They play soccer, but we don't have soccer at the high school level. So we just, through Magi Youth Sports, run youth soccer. They've done wrestling before, but my son gets claustrophobic, so he doesn't like being wrestling, I guess. So I think he'd be good at it, so I wish he would. Okay, let's see. Well, guys, oh my gosh, it's been almost an hour, for goodness sakes. I should probably wrap this up. All right, so there's anything left? Yes, 4-H is international, and they have programs where kids can do like an exchange student program, which I thought was pretty cool. Let's see. How often do I actually see auditors and subsets in professional life? I mean, once in a while. Again, I think I had mentioned before that some auditors came to our courthouse and like stuck their cameras in people's windows, but I mean, I don't really know what they were trying to get out of that. Forage. I guess probably like my Midwestern accent. 4-H, forage, you know, same diff. Let's see. All right, how well do I know TJ outside of court? TJ and I both went to Centerville High School, and he was a year ahead of me, and I was friends with his sister, so I would say I know him pretty well. That's why I can tease him and he can take it. Does it get awkward if I have to prosecute past clients? Yeah, that does get super awkward. So most of the time, because there are 5 of us, somebody else will just handle it. Do you play video games? No, I'm not good at video games. I don't understand why there's so many buttons, and I blame it on my siblings because I was the third of the first 3 kids. And the Nintendo only had 2 controllers back then. I'm aging myself right now. And my sister and brother would never let me play. So I just never got into video games. So now I have no clue how people play those. Let's see. My gosh, there's so many comments. I'm trying to get through them all. Possessed smoke alarm. I swear it is. My office used to be a doctor's office back in the day. So, just get shots back here. So I'm thinking maybe it's angry spirits or something. Oh, good point. Smoke alarm itself. I mean, good God, that thing is probably pretty old. That's why we put new ones in. We have apartments upstairs, so we take care of our tenants and make sure that nobody gets hurt here. Let's see. Would you ever eat those lambs? I try not to eat my own animals that we raise. This makes me sad. Okay. All right, guys. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of questions. Are there times that choice ends up being time in jail over small? There are times where a judge gives you the option, like, okay, well, you want to go to jail or do you want to do a probation? And it's surprising to me how many people choose just to go to jail, which I'd rather just do the probation personally. If judge calls a sidebar and someone's representing themselves, I would think so. They're representing themselves. They get to. No, I don't have any dogs. My husband's allergic, so I just play with my friend's dogs. Keep the animals and get rid of your kids. That's how you keep sanity. Oh, I mean, there's times, right? I'm really not good at following chat. You're right. Sorry. That's why I gotta have a moderator or something. Okay. I think I answered most of the questions, guys. In most cases, someone approaches as if to spit in someone's face. Approaching aggressively, you have the right to hit them or put them on the ground. I mean, self-defense is such a tricky thing because you have to have that apparent belief and that the person can follow through that you're going to have an imminent attack. And then you can only use enough force to thwart the attack. You can't pound somebody into the ground because you think they were maybe gonna spit at you, which spitting at somebody is really disgusting. So I get where you're coming from with that. But then the issue is you have to prove your self-defense. So it shifts that burden from the prosecution over to the defense. And now you as a defendant, if that's your claim, then you have to prove that. Okay. Well, guys, I think, oh my gosh, there's too many things to go through. I don't think I can keep up with them all. Well, I'm going to skip to the end. I'm going to go back and look at these. And if there's something that I can, then I will. Some crimes have multiple levels. Are there any other crimes? Yes. I feel like there should be more levels to driving suspended. Is that kind of crazy? That's like a silly one, right? But there are people that drive suspended like a ridiculous amount of times, and it's not for getting to work or something that seems legitimate. It's like just because they feel like driving, right? And if they're driving and they're under the influence, it makes it even worse. So I wish that there was something a little different about that. The worst thing about discovery, always feeling like there's something out there that you missed. We only have what they find and what they send to us. So, all right, guys. Oh my gosh, it has been 59 minutes in a second. So thanks for hanging in there with me. And I really appreciate the interest in the law and my animals because they're super cute. But if you guys have any further questions, thank you so much. Like 4,000 subscribers. I would have never in a million years thought that this would happen. But it's been a lot of fun. And as long as you guys care, I'll continue doing what I do and hopefully giving you something interesting to think about or consider. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.